I was going to bring up the important but sometimes boring topic of technology. So we've lived through these extraordinary social transformations that are connected with technology over the last few decades. First, email, the internet itself, then the whole Web 2.0 social kind of phenomenon. Some of the tools we use, though, are still sort of 80s and 90s tools. We upload and we download files in funny things called learning management systems, which are now getting quite old. And we're in another phase now of extraordinary technological change. So I was going to ask each of you to talk about the frustrations of the technology and perhaps your ideals about where you would like this technology to be going, given the frustrations that we all sometimes have with the technologies.
You made a point once in an orientation that we should take these technological glitches as the opportunity for bonding. So I've always tried this is the 21st century version of the ropes course. So yes, you've dropped off, but please come back quickly. I think that dropping in and out problem, it's perpetual. You have to take it with good humor. You really do have to tell the students ahead of time, there will be glitches, but it doesn't mean the entire endeavor is corrupt. It just means, there's humidity in the air and the internet doesn't work in humidity for some reason. And I do think getting them comfortable enough with the fact that there will be errors and that there will be delays and that there will be frustrations, but to just keep cycling back to class, that we'll get it figured out, I do think is an important way to kind of forestall any panic that they have. But to me, every time we have a new bunch of students, we just got a bunch of them, they had connection issues the first night. You want to say, no, that's normal. And you'll just get used to it. And maybe you didn't upload Java. Now it only takes about 40 seconds. It used to take 15 minutes. You'll upload and you'll be back and everything will be fine. But I think they do have to learn to relax and realize that a technological problem is not the equivalent of showing up to your first day of class in your pajamas. It's just something that happens.
My prediction is that in 5 years or 10 years, online learning will look very different from the way it looks now. And what I'd like to see is much greater opportunities for experiential learning. And I'm thinking about virtual environments, I'm thinking about simulations, I'm thinking about role plays, I'm thinking about the resurgence of virtual reality, which is a lot written about. So we can do that in a classroom setting, right? I mean, we can role play, we can give people different scenarios. But I think the online environment has a lot of potential if it becomes easier to provide simulations, to provide case studies, to provide experiential learning, where people move into a virtual environment, experience something, come back to class, and then discuss what they're doing. This dimension, I think, requires greater bandwidth, requires ease of developing these things, which are very time-consuming at the moment. But my prediction is that the technology will move very fast.
Denise, you going to say something?
I was thinking the access issue with the hardware and software, that for many people it is still restrictive. It's very expensive and it's not available, but I agree that in time that will change. And so many of the things that we have available will be accessible. And so students won't be thinking, I have to take my course on a smartphone because I don't have anything bigger. And some of those experiences would be the equivalent of a field trip or something that everyone can do together, experience and come back. Now we try to get as closely as possible where students can explain something verbally, they can write about it, they can put a picture of it, they can put a video of it, they can link us in, but we're not quite there technologically yet.
I'll mention one thing I was going to mention earlier, I'll say it now, we haven't talked about MOOCs yet. When we were first doing these online courses, you had to make a lot of the stuff up yourself. There weren't a lot of off-the-shelf products. I had to learn HTML to actually create the web pages for the course. And now we do have things like learning management systems and things that are more off the shelf. The good news is that the learning curve to use them is much shallower than it used to be. But the bad news is that, and it goes back to what Peter was saying earlier about this industrial model, many of the applications that we have simply reinforce and reinstantiate the very worst aspects of the industrial model of teaching. And I think, frankly, I said we haven't talked about MOOCs very much yet. I think that's one of the dangers of MOOCs.
Right.
Is a lot of MOOCs are lecture-oriented, quiz and exam, and multiple choice test-oriented. I mean, there's nothing, you can teach good things that way, but it's an extremely traditional model of pedagogy in a very cool, high-tech context. And I actually wish we could get back to the idea of a more modular approach, where people could take multiple tools and resources and combine them in a way that made sense for the way they want to teach the course and the affordances that they need for the kind of course, the kind of teaching that they feel comfortable with. And the big danger of these applications is that they create a new kind of standardization where people have to adapt their teaching to what the application or learning management system allows them to do, as opposed to saying, here's the way I'd like to teach this class. What are the tools and resources that will let me do it in a more interesting and creative way? And I think that's one of the big struggles that we're in the middle of right now, which is tendencies towards increased normalization and standardization of online teaching at just the time when we're all saying this is a chance to do things in a really different and interesting way. And I think that's a struggle that we're all dealing with.